Thank you, and welcome everybody. I'd like to also welcome those viewers who are watching the meeting via the live stream tonight. And if I could ask you, so we can get started, if we can all please be upstanding. Deputy Mayor Migdale, could you please read out the opening prayer?
I certainly can. Thank you, Mayor. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding, and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Councillor Crowder, could you please read out the acknowledgement of country?
On behalf of councillors, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respect for elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can all take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of this meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. Brings to item 1, the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 4th of March 2025 open at 6:31 p.m. 2, apologies. I do have an apology from Councillor Ferranti tonight. Item 3, approved leave of absence. We have Councillor Michael Dudek from the 5th of February to the 9th of March, Councillor Lisa Thornton from the 5th of February to the 9th of March, and Councillor Elizabeth Ree from the 5th of February to the 9th of March. 4, disclosure of interest. There were no disclosures from the Audit Committee meeting held on the 24th of February. There were 2 from the Committee and Resource meeting held on the 25th of February, which are listed in tonight's agenda and displayed also on the screen behind me. Councillors, are there any other disclosures for this evening? None at this stage. Thank you. Item 5, petitions. Councillor Perkoff, I believe you have a petition in relation to Odin Drive in Stirling.
Thank you, Mayor. I do. City received the below petition containing 9 verified signatures, and it reads as follows. We, the owners from 205 to 242 Odin Drive, Stirling, have had to call on the WA Police as we have many cars using our street as a racetrack and drag racing up and down the street. There are many children and grandchildren in our homes. This is happening a lot. Please, can we have some speed humps or some road alteration to reduce speed and make our street safe? There is also a police number listed as well, Mayor Irwin.
Thank you. Are there any unverified petitions this evening, councillors? If not, can I have a move and a second to receive the petition from Councillor Perkoff? Move Councillor Papard, seconded Councillor Hatton, and just show of hands to accept those petitions, that petition. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 6, response to previous questions from members of the public taken on notice. I have nil. 7, public question time. We've received some questions for this evening, so I'll ask you up in order. And let's start by welcoming back Lynn Nowak. Welcome back. It's been a little while. Your name and suburb to start, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Lynn Nowak, Karrinyup. I have to say before I start, number 1, I applaud that petition. I've seen it myself. And number 2, I feel safer overseas than I do on Burrows Road. Maybe I should go back overseas. Okay. Since returning, I have been led to understand that a contract has been signed by Blackburn with a building company in WA for the commencement of the high-rise on Burrows Road. It seems to be starting in September. So, what arrangements has the council put into place for the future thousands of workers and their cars, their parking, their drag racing, whatever it may be, for this very long development?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the parking arrangements for construction staff would generally be considered as part of the site management plan for the project. And as part of the previous development stage, you'd be aware the city installed 2-hour area-wide parking restrictions on roads surrounding the shopping centre. So these restrictions will remain in place and enforceable for all future construction projects.
Thank you. Ms. Knight.
Two. It's interesting to note that Stirling City Council can have 40 k's an hour on Main Street commercial area with flashing lights, crosswalks, traffic lights, etc. And then again, so I found out the other day, on Walcott Street, just west of Adair Street, North Perth, Mount Lawley border, It's actually 40 kilometres along a main road such as Walcott Street. There are, however, along Walcott Street, no schools, no retirement villages, no retirement homes, no churches, no daycare centres, but there is a fenced-off area which is about to be a high-rise development. But still, there is inadequate traffic calming around Karrinyup Shopping Centre. We don't have any such protection on the 3 streets bordering the back, that is the north, the east or the west of the shopping centre. I'm also led to believe that the council can afford to pay for a beach walk investigation, but I find it incredulous that the same amount of money cannot be spent on local safety. So essentially, what considerations have been discussed and investigated regarding traffic calming around Karrinyup Shopping Centre?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Thank you for the question. Traffic calming on roads around the Karrinyup Shopping Centre will be considered and detailed as part of an upcoming report that will be presented to Council in May 2025. I'd also just point out that we've previously been able to reduce the speed on the 3 roads surrounding the shopping centre to 40 kilometres an hour.
I know, I actually put the submission in.
And your final question.
My final question. I've actually spoken to people in this room, in their office, about solutions for the corner of Burrows Road and Karrinyup Road. To put it mildly, the average driver along this section of Karrinyup Road is either incompetent, doesn't know the road rules, is selfish, or just plain stupid. And I say that very definitely. I was recently made aware of yet another accident on this corner where a local Karrinyup man, was on his way home from work. He was hit. He had to be cut out of his car with the jaws of life. It was obviously more than 2 weeks ago because I wasn't in the country, but I was very quickly told about it. This corner is now notorious with the main roads, the RAC, and everybody who has to use it. Likewise, all of the roads around the Karrinyup shops are dangerous. I'm happy to come and speak yet again on these issues in the council office with either the mayor or the CEO. I now have time. I'm back. This recent accident was bad enough, but basically the locals are waiting for someone to die. That has been said many times. I hope this is not what the council is waiting for, or the main roads for that fact. So, what have been the ongoing discussions between the main roads and the City of Stirling looking for a solution regarding this increasingly dangerous intersection of Burrows and Karrinyup Road?
Thank you for that question. Mr. Guillemot.
Through Mr Mayor, the City has had discussions with Main Roads regarding road safety issues at this intersection. I'm probably telling you something you already know, but the control and management of that intersection does fall within the responsibility of Main Roads. We're obviously able to contribute to those discussions, but Main Roads would have the final determining decision on what is being done to that intersection. We're hoping to get further information, and we will present that detailed information as part of the aforementioned report to Council in May 2025.
May's busy.
Thank you.
Can I just push for a meeting, please, Mark? Because I've actually got a different answer from the main roads.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you certainly may. Tricia Cole, please. And just your name and suburb to start.
Tricia Cole, Karrinyup.
Thank you. And your question.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Nice to see you all.
Good evening.
I am interested in only one thing. I live in Davenport Street. For my sins, right at the entrance to the goods yard to Karrinyup Shopping Centre. Not by wish, just by fate. The speed limits have been erected in Davenport Street, as somebody has said earlier this evening, But unfortunately, speed limits are not much good if they're not controlled. The 2 speed limits we have, one each end of the street, are barely visible and nobody takes any notice of them anyway. They still continue to travel up Devonport and down Devonport at speeds in excess of 50 kilometres an hour, never mind 40. But that doesn't end there, because the car that might be driving a little slower behind that car toots and overtakes and then speeds up the rest of the way. So that is 2 lots of motorists not abiding by the speed limit. And they also have a great deal of difficulty coming in and out of the 4 exits I have to cross in order to get to the library. They come up from the exit, they go down from the exit. The road has cars coming down and coming up, and by the time I've looked back to see what's coming behind me, the first car has disappeared and there's another car there, so it's an awful wait. We have no pavement our side of the street, and even if we had, it wouldn't be much good.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, Ms Gold, but I do need you to ask a question.
Well, will you perhaps answer one of mine? Is there going to be any help coming to save people like me who have to cross that road? Particularly, I didn't quite finish. I just wanted to say that after hours, from Thursday night until Sunday, the cars of very expensive cars come herring down Devonport Street at 80, 90 and 100 kilometres an hour, screeching to a halt to get round the roundabout into Francis Street. I've now finished. Is there anything you can do to help people like me to live a quieter life?
Thank you. And look, I do understand your concerns, and we'll certainly include you in the meeting with Ms Noack. I know that councillors have been having discussions with our engineering team. There is a report coming to council, so it's visible in May, but some of that report was looking at other traffic calming measures, whether they be pedestrian crossings or raised speed bumps style pedestrian crossings.
Thank you. As you can tell, I'm not very good at doing this sort of thing.
You're perfect.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Yes, no, we need it. We need the honesty. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Rosic. Thank you, and just your name and suburb.
Maria Rosic, Inglewood. So, Mr Mayor, first of all, on behalf of the Inglewood community affected by the antisocial behaviour originating from the 100% state housing complex at 157 9th Ave, I would like to thank you for taking the community's safety concerns seriously by reinstalling the CCTV tower for an extended period of time. It has resulted in a drop in low-level antisocial behaviours around the front of the complex, at businesses in the immediate vicinity, and the bus stop between 8th and 9th Avenues, which prior to the installation of the cameras hosted fights daily, as witnessed by several businesses nearby. However, we are also aware that the camera tower has a limited line of vision, so now residents and their visitors have moved their activities to the back of the complex out of sight of the cameras. Furthermore, while low-level behaviours have dropped, the Inglewood community is now witnessing quite the opposite with serious offences. As of last week, the local Aldi reported that organised groups of masked men had begun terrorising evening shift workers with the intent of stealing alcohol. A dog that was being used to threaten and intimidate other tenants within the complex, as well as members of the community, was seized by rangers and police from one of the units several days ago. And finally, 2 days ago, police attended an incident where a food delivery driver that was dropping off an order to level 3 of the complex was attacked by several people on site, who then stole his car, which was found totaled 2 hours later. If this is how communities manages a complex of 24 units, what effect will the proposed complex at 969 971 Beaufort Street, which is more than double the capacity of 157 9th Ave, have on the surrounding community? Mr Mayor, we're extremely concerned that these sorts of behaviours will continue to escalate if the situation remains unchanged. So my first question is, has a letter been sent to the Honourable John Carey, Minister for Communities, on behalf of the Inglewood community regarding the antisocial behaviour of the tenants and their visitors at 157 9th Ave, Inglewood?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. My second question is regarding the proposed development at 969 971 Beaufort Street. Is the City of Stirling able to confirm whether this new development will indeed be a second concentrated 100% state housing complex, or will it be of mixed tenure with 30% social housing dwellings, like the new public housing projects in the City of Perth and the town of Vincent?
Thank you. I'll get Ms Shears to provide a response.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Ms Rosic, for the question. In relation to that application, the City isn't the actual determining authority for that. We've received the referral for it. We are working our way through that at the moment. From what we can understand from the material looked at so far, it is intended to be social, but they have said it's for seniors. So our officers are still assessing that. I can advise, though, the referral response has been called into council, so that will be included on the agenda of the 1st of April.
Okay, thank you. And my last question, is the City of Stirling also able to confirm whether the proposed social housing project at 969 971 will have a community office on site which can address any issues that tenants may have?
Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll have to get back to you on that. There is some office component to it, but I'll have to get back to you in terms of specifics.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Molinari?
Good evening, Melissa Molinari, Inglewood.
Good evening.
My first question this evening is in regards to 157 9th Avenue, Inglewood. Does the council have a current breakdown of the resources that are being spent on the continual developments of antisocial behaviour at 157 9th Avenue, and for how much longer will we continue to waste taxpayers' money on these issues?
Look, the simple answer is no, we don't, but I can certainly assure you we are happy to try to work that out. It's been extreme, and I think the community officers have said it's some of the worst behaviour they've seen.
Correct. Thank you. My second question is in regards to the new proposed community housing development site at 969 971 Beaufort Street, Inglewood. The site of the proposed development currently serves as a parking space for over 40 cars on weekdays and weekends for local businesses and commuters. The proposed apartments are only providing 29 car spaces, which, according to the requirements, is a 19 car spaces in the deficit, which is not insignificant given that that represents a shortfall of 40%. How can this be justified when not only the developments will move the current cars parking there, but will add to the already well-known parking issues in our streets off Beaufort Street for both Inglewood and Mount Lawley?
Thank you. And look, at this stage, we certainly can't control what the proposal is. That will form part of our referral write-up, and that has been called into council, so that will be made public, our response to that.
Okay, thank you. And my third question is, I would like to thank the council for the removal of the wooden structure on the corner of 8th Avenue, Inglewood. Thank you for listening to us, and it's fabulous to see that we were heard and that has been removed for the safety of mostly children in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can just finish by assuring you, look, the ward councillors have been very active in this space. Myself and the CEO have attended the site on separate occasions, and certainly even just on the random occasions witness behaviour you talk of. That's why we've been very happy to make it more public with media, and we'll continue to prosecute this with the current state government. It's just not good enough.
No, we thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, as Chair, I just ruled to extend public question time. We've passed the 15 minutes, so we'll go for another half an hour or so, I'm guessing. And we'll start with you, Kim Sewell, if you'd like to come forward. Are you okay? Thanks. We've got more chance of getting through it now. John Nelly. Good evening, and just your name and suburb to start, and then away you go.
John Sterling. Or John Nelly, sorry.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody, and thank you very much for allowing me to put in. We have a very bad situation in Sterling Drive, Stirling, Odin Drive, Stirling, is a situation as it is a dead-end street, and the way they come down from Amelia Street and from the Erindale end, they come down there. I approached the main roads to get some no-through signs put up where it hits our section, and a lot of people turn off to the left to go to the park, which I think's Gleig Street or something like that. What the issue is they go down there. The houses were approved by the Shire, of which 60% don't have big backyards. So they're utilising a basketball ring out the front, and the ball happens to go on the road. The concerns is that we've had this going on for at least a year and a half, 2 years, and I've found out, because I do have two more owners here, Ray and Marlene. Ray's at 220 Odin Drive and Marlene's at 224. It used to be used as a dragway many years ago, and then the Shire approved to put up the trees that are there and some bollards. My question is that it's already been going for such a long time, and the people go down, hit the end street, and then they get frustrated and they speed back, and we've had at least 2 incidents. My question is, and it's obviously happening around, and it puts a lot of pressure on you people, and I understand that, to try and deal with everything, with all the violence and everything else that's going around the place. It's a lot to deal with. But we could not leave it when I've got 9 grandchildren, everyone's got children in the street. It's a dead-end street. Something needs to be done, because it is going to happen if it gets nothing. The dragging, did it 5 times the other night. The police were called, and that's what that reference number is. 5 times. The last 4 weeks we've had the police out at least 4 times, maybe 3 times this week. 3 times this week with issues. The police said they can't do much more. They said it's up to the Shire of what can we do. I am here not as a ratepayer, as a dad, and I think all of us are family people. We need something done, and we need to know when and how. Please.
Thank you for that.
Please.
We're certainly listening, Mr. Nally. Look, the councillor's read out your petition. From that, the officers will have a look at it. What we commit to you, we'll organise a visit in the next couple of weeks with councillors and some officers to come out and really understand yourself and your neighbours' concerns, I think, and then sort of move from there.
Yeah. The one thing thank you for bringing that up. The one thing I would like that everyone was aware of, it is not Odin Road, Innaloo. Odin Street,
no, we know what you mean.
This is, well, not everyone at the council knows, because I had to draw it out. This is Odin Drive, Stirling.
Yes.
And it has that, and you'll see it. And thank you very much. And whoever's going for the elections, all the best, and I wish you all the best. And thank you very much. I'm not here. Okay.
But they might be watching at home, and I'm sure they appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Nally.
Thank you.
Roland Hadley. Thank you, and just your name and suburb.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. According to the Mayor, there is a support for international tourist attraction of a boardwalk through an A-class reserve. Support, no doubt, comes from his surf club members and the Scarborough Beach Association. We ask, have all the ratepayers in the city of choice been contacted to decide if this is warranted or required? Why has this mayor allocated $500,000 of ratepayers' funds prior to any decision being made? His sheer arrogance and audacity must be questioned. Is this the way the council is going to operate from now on?
Oh, that's very good, Mr. Hadley. Look, it wasn't my decision. The council made the decision to allocate the money, and consultation hasn't occurred yet. Your next question.
Next question. Can the ratepayers view the plans for the development of the South Trig car park? Will the shopping arcades and malls match the international shopping complex at Scarborough? And will the apartment towers exceed 8 stories? And for those impoverished developers, will you be waiving certain clauses and fees like you wanted to do about 2 years ago?
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. We'll take that on notice. I have no idea what you're talking about. So we'll listen to the recording and respond in
Well,
writing.
just asking, have you got any plans drawn up for the South Perth, South Trig car park?
No, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. There are none.
So you're going to build a international boardwalk from
Let's
Scarborough.
go to your third question. We'll answer that one in writing.
Can we just answer it now?
I did, Mr. Hadley. We have no plans for the South Car Park. I don't know what you're referring to with the development.
So you've got one international boardwalk going from South Scarborough through to the top end, the north end north, and then international tourists will walk up there and walk back again. Surely that's not possible, is it?
Your third question, Mr. Hadley.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah. We are still seeking the cost of printing of the 652-page trackless tram report, which Mayor Irwin stated in March last year, 1 year ago. How many copies have been printed, plus the name of the company? When was the invoice paid? Similarly, we have sought the cost of 32 of all 11 32-metre raised platforms to accommodate these trackless trams. We could not locate these details in the report. Can you help us on that?
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. We'll respond to you in writing.
Thank you.
Bob Mitchell. Good evening, and just your name and suburb to start us off.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, council officers in the gallery. I have 3 questions tonight. My first one, Mayor, relates to the courtyard at the Karrinyup Community Centre. Specifically, it was the subject of a possible use by an eastern states business to erect an upside-down house for child amusement. That proposal was withdrawn. I, through Councillor Kristovic, requested that also in consideration to the repaving in that area, consider installation of a chessboard pattern in the repaving that was rejected on the assumption it would provoke vandalism. The assumption was made that a shed to house the tablets would be the subject of vandalism. As I pointed out to you in the email, is the only vandalism I could see were broken and cracked paving slabs, obviously caused by articulated construction type vehicles running over them with too much weight and pressure. There can be no harm initially to provide this checkered inlay. The old saying, build it and they will come. Chess is a leveller of a game a person can play, someone 90 years of age and be only 9 years old. It was developed into a good spectator sport too. Why can't small trolleys be built to hold all the necessary paraphernalia for playing? House within the library and hire out with a deposit kept. I believe that after a while...
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I understand where you're going. We've seen the letter, so let's get you a response on the chessboard and give you an update on the forecourt. Mr. Quirk.
A response, yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the question, Mr. Mitchell. Unfortunately, you've missed the boat. So you are right, the upside-down house isn't happening in the courtyard, but the city had committed to undertaking some improvement works in that area. The design's been finalised for those works and they'll be completed by the end of this financial year. So there will be improvements along the lines of what you've spoken about, particularly around the paving, and there'll also be some reinforcement to ensure that vehicles that need to get into that space don't crack the paving again. So whilst it not a bad idea, unfortunately we're just about to commence works in that area. What I can, I guess, further allude to is the reason why we've scaled the works back and just looking at the paving is that, as per the previous council resolution, the city has met with representatives for the Karrinyup Shopping Centre, and we are looking at what are some development options for the library site, including the forecourt and the car parking area as well. We understand what the owners of the Karrinyup Shopping Centre might want to look at. Now that gives the city the ability to look at what we might be able to achieve on that land holding as well. So on that basis, we're not over-investing in the forecourt, but we do need to make the place safe and functional.
Thank you, Mr Mitchell. Your next question.
Yes, my next question. With the passing of Christmas and the festive season, I am at a loss to know how the Christmas lights that were contracted out to be installed in 7 wards in administration building. I have not seen any feedback about them. Was there any?
That's your question.
Well, one, and I've got.
So this is your second question. So wrap them up together quickly.
Were photos taken and published? If so, where? What additional costs were incurred over and above the contract price? Will the council pursue the same format this year, tendering out Christmas lights to 7 wards and at the administration building?
I'll just get some, I'll find out about the feedback. It was certainly a lot of photos were published. Mr Quirk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. That's lots of questions in one question, Mr Mitchell. But first of all, yes, we did receive a lot of feedback from the community. It varied depending on the location because the installations were very different at the 7 different places. We've also sought feedback from elected members, which will inform the budget process next year. So touching on one of your other questions, the same format may be pursued next year, but that's subject to council's budget considerations. No additional costs were incurred, so the lighting was delivered for $320,000, which is what was budgeted. There were various photos taken. They were used on the city's socials, on our website, in the Stirling scene, and also the lights were promoted through the street banners that are on Cedric Street in Scarborough and on Beaufort Street.
Thank you, Mr Mitchell. And your last question.
Excuse me, Mayor, can I reply?
No. With all due respect, Mr Mitchell, it's just question time. So...
Oh, I was just told a falsehood, that's all. So I've got to accept it. Okay.
Mr Clerk will give you a call.
Absolutely marvellous.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, my third question. I wish now to reflect on the development approval for a renewing of parking for the Karrinyup Shopping Centre staff parking on the Karrinyup Primary School Oval. Initially was a request for upcoming construction works, workers' buildings units on the shopping centre, be able to park on the oval every weekend from the start of construction to practical completion. Initially, that part of the development application was withdrawn. Have any developers represented reapplied?
Let me get some details. Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Mitchell, for the question. They haven't reapplied at this stage for any temporary parking. We have, as was alluded to earlier, a parking plan that we're sort of looking at the moment as part of their construction management plan for the towers that are proposed. Officers are still working through that at the moment. We've only just received that recently. So any temporary parking that they propose on other sites will need to have an application for it, but we haven't received anything at this stage.
Thank you, Mr Mitchell. Lisa Thompson. Thank you, and just your name and suburb.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors and staff. My name is Lisa Thompson from Trigg. Thank you all still for bearing with us on this boardwalk. On the Channel 9 news on Saturday night, you stated that it was not if, but how in relation to the boardwalk being built. Wow, that's a huge statement, Mr Mayor.
Just a correction, it wasn't my statement. That's what the Channel 9 newsreader said.
So you didn't tell them that?
No, I certainly did not.
So they don't normally quote what you don't say?
I can assure you, I am prepared to send you the written response. It was a written response, not a verbal response, and it was to a Channel 9 reporter who'd been down with your group, and that was not my words.
Okay, well, that's what I heard, so I'm sorry if I didn't hear it right
and
or
that's
got
fair
it wrong.
enough.
But that's
I knew it would come out tonight, but it certainly
Did
was not.
you? Well,
There were
I
several
was going to say what happened to community consultation and engagement, but I don't need to say anything there, do I? Is the council simply going to ignore a highly questionable environmental report that is not based on accepted environmental guidelines and protocols? Why has the council refused to have this report peer reviewed? As the council's Katera report does not even consider a viable, attractive environmental alternative, this is not then a constraints analysis if you only have one thing going through, the riddle of the thing. There's nothing else considered. Why are we prepared to push council into spending more than $20 million plus into the coastal ward electorate at the expense of all the other wards and councillors? Ignoring the experts and the chair map states not to build on a mobile dune system. Mr Mayor, how can you in all seriousness justify spending this obscene amount of ratepayers' money on this vanity project when the entire electorate is facing cost of living issues?
Thank you for that question. Look, we'll respond to some of those other ones in writing, but in general, the concept drawings will be drawn up and it will go through further testing with environmental considerations and it will go out to community consultation.
That's great. I did note the picture on the TV, and I think you've got it in your Stirling, but it did have a lot of beautiful vegetation. Now, I go through that sand dune every day, and in this climate, and that unless you're going to get the retic on that hectares of thing, there is no way that there's going to be vegetation like that. So destroying it first, and we can see one, the one in front of the Surf Life Saving. It's crazy. Anyway.
Thank you, Ms Thompson. And I will provide you with a written statement that was provided to Channel 9. Ariane Bradley.
Hi, Ariane Bradley from Balcatta. Just wanted to know, with the library hub that's been put up on Hammersley Recreation Centre, can the council please tell me how much was the hub cost to deliver, how many people use the hub, and how many others are going to be put in different recreation centres?
This is the library locker.
It looks like a TARDIS.
Yeah, the library locker. Mr Quirk.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks for the question, Ms Bradley. Sorry, I'll have to take the cost on notice. I just don't quite have it to hand. It's not actually fully open and operational yet, so it will be by the end of March. Look, it's something we're trialling. When we did consult with the Hammersley community, they asked for a library to be located in that site. We didn't think it was necessary to build another library, so we're trialling this. It's almost like a vending machine service. You can order the book that you want. It'll be delivered from any of the city's libraries, and when you finish with it, you can simply deposit it and it makes its way back to a library. So we don't quite know yet, but we're excited to see how this goes.
No, I was waiting to go in there and go, beam me up, Scotty. So anyway, and next question is, can the council please let me know, or let us know, how much has it cost for the calendars with the different ward councillors, the photos and the different page, on the different back pages and the different front pages? How many are left in circulation, and the costing?
Yes, we certainly can. We can provide you all that in writing.
please. And number 3,
Do
simple.
you like the calendars, Miss Bradley?
Nah.
No.
No, I'm a senior. That
No,
does,
it's
you
only
know,
I don't disagree with you. It's just I've always been surprised at the take up on them. They are very popular.
Okay,
We'll
yeah.
provide you. We'll provide you
No,
with
I'm
the
modern.
information.
I've got the computer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I use
me
it.
too, me too.
Yeah, I'm a modern senior. Thank you.
That's right. Your
Now,
third question.
Verge pickups. Many years ago, we used to have the Verge pickups that we used to have a little sign on the end of the road saying, you know, your Verge pickup will come next week or such and such date. It's been eliminated, and we're all supposed to go through and have a look at when it's going to be done through the computer. I'm lucky I've got computer knowledge, but a lot of older people do not have the computer knowledge. How is it going to be easier for the council to notify, like you used to do letterbox drops? How are you going to fix that problem?
Thank you for that question. It is a very good one. It's been brought to our attention quite a lot in recent times. I'm on your side with this one too. Mr Murphy, can we go back to notifying residents with a leaflet drop to let them know their greens collection is coming up?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we can certainly look at it and see what that would cost. I think it's a long time. I know what you mean about the signs. It's a long time since we've done that, more than 10 years.
Yeah.
It is, you're right, it's on all our channels of communication, including the website, but it's also on the waste guide, which is taken up or delivered to every house. So the dates are actually on the waste guide as well. So.
Well, even if, like, the councillors say, notify their wards that council pickup will be, you know, on such and such date to, you know, just a thought. Anyway, that was it. Nothing about cats tonight, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I did wonder. Mike Masiello. Thank you. Just your name and suburb.
It's Mike Masiello from Trig. Good evening, Mayor, Councillors, Executive Team, Public Gallery. I note that on March 2025, the City is embarking upon 2 reactive coastal erosion management projects. The first is the Meddams Sand Nourishment, which involves relocating 5,000 cubic metres of sand or 500 truckloads from Trig to Meddams, and the second being the rock armouring at Trig Beach near Clarko Reserve. What is the total annual cost of reactive erosion management initiatives across the city, such as these 2 projects? And have these projects been funded through ratepayer coffers or through government grants?
Both, but we'll respond to you in writing to make sure we get you the accurate figures on those.
Yep. The projects above involve a couple of 100 metres of coastline. As we know, the city has 7 kilometres of coastline, which exposes the City of Stirling ratepayers to considerable future financial risk to prevent loss and damage to coastal assets through coastal erosion, which is forecast to escalate in the near to long term. Mr Mayor, do you recall adopting the CHAR map in 2023?
Yes.
Yep. And if so, can you please tell me what are the recommendations for new construction or development within Trig Beach South, Zone MU5, up to the year 2021?
Thank you. I haven't got that off the top of my head. I'm happy to respond to you in writing, but I think you already know what you want me to
Mr
say.
Murphy, is that, sorry, through the Mayor to Mr Murphy, is that something that you would know? I just want to...
No,
you don't know?
No, we'd have to look up.
Really?
Respond. Yeah,
It's a
very
pretty
clever.
well-known sort of fact. You
Come
don't
on,
know.
your third
Okay,
question.
sorry, all right. Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so in Zone MU5, the CHAR map recommendation is avoiding further permanent development on land which has been identified as prone to erosion over the next 100 years. That is up to 2122. In the CHAR map, Trig Beach South, Zone MU5, and in particular, the South Trig Beach vegetated dunes are considered high erosion risk by 2045 and extreme erosion risk by 2070. We are unsure why your friends at Coterra Environment have only considered a 45-year timeframe, as this is at odds with the CHAR map and State Planning Policy 2.6. My question, please explain to me the logic behind the city blatantly ignoring the expert scientific recommendations adopted by yourselves through CharMap, which you obviously have forgotten about, and reinforced by State Planning Policy 2.6 to pursue the concept of building a $20 million permanent structure that will span 14% of the city's vulnerable coastline within Zone MU5.
Thank you for that question. Look, the simple answer is it's a guideline for council to make decisions. There'll be plenty of bits of infrastructure along the coastline, whether it be from Waterman's Bay all the way down to Brighton or Peasholm, that the council will have to make decisions over the next 100 years. And it won't be this council that makes all those decisions, but it will decide whether they defend areas that may be eroded. They'll make decisions whether areas are left to be eroded. They'll make decisions whether we replace infrastructure that may be usable for the next 20 or 30 years. It doesn't mean nothing can be built within that zone.
There's a differentiation between what has existing and what's future planned.
It's not for debate.
And it's obvious that you guys
Thank you.
you couldn't answer the question, so you're not aware of it. Future plan's different than previous. That's my point. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Kieran Kelly.
Kieran Kelly, Scarborough. Look, a couple of weeks ago I had the pleasure of going to the Walga Urban Tree Conference, which a number of your staff did attend. The conference was based around the delivery of quality tree planting with the use of a whole lot of different metrics to come out with a suitable outcomes for tree planting. So my basic question is, the officers who attended that conference, are they obliged or do they actually come and brief the councillors on the going-ons from that conference?
Thank you. Mr Murphy.
Yes, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Kelly, for the question. There's not a specific requirement for them to brief specifically about that conference, but officers, through a series of communications, keep council updated on all those matters in relation to trees. So there's a regular dialogue about trees and urban forests that happens between officers and council.
Right. Well, I would encourage all the councillors actually to see those officers because it was a great conference. One of the outtakes from the conference was the amount of trees that a lot of councils are looking to plant. I know the Stirling Council has a number of trees that they want to plant. And the outtakes from that conference was that, one, there may not be enough trees for councils to plant, just the supply of stock. And the other is that there's not enough areas within local councils to plant those number of trees. So my question is, does this council think they've got enough space to plant the number of trees that they're looking at?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Great. Quality planting?
Yes, yeah, and there is a report on tonight that details some of that. But yes, and some of it will require, as we progress into the years, being more innovative, but we do believe we'll be okay for a number of years.
Yeah, it may suggest that quality planting is better than quantity, I reckon.
Yes.
My third one, and I'm delivering this on behalf of my grandchildren who can't be here tonight because they should be in bed, but Hancock Street, there's a little local park in Hancock Street where there are a number of families that live around there. It's a great playground for probably a dozen or more kids who are under the age of 10 and all the surrounding parents. So, but on behalf of them, and especially my grandchildren, I'd like to thank Councillor Proud for her involvement in getting I'm not sure what you call it, street graffiti, I suppose, or Street to Life. So thank you, Councillor Proud, for that. The kids are finishing it off next weekend, and I would encourage as many of the councils to get down there and actually have a look, because this little park is a great little community park, and the community around there actually look after it very well. There's a lot of things the council do, but they do actually actively go there and look after the grounds for the purpose of the kids living around the area and obviously the residents around the area. So we need a question, Mr Mayor. So my question is, will the council take the opportunity to go down and have a look at this park and maybe try to encourage other community groups within the Scarborough area, especially because that's where we're from, and look at all the other dry parks that they have around that we might be able to upgrade these parks to bring community into?
So the simple answer is yes, and I'm sure many councillors will. I'll commit to taking my grandson there and having a look at it. It is interesting. We have a workshop coming up just on those issues. The big thing facing the city over the next few years, and there's items on the agenda this evening talking about the groundwater allocations and those reductions. And it'll be how we deal with how many of those significant pocket parks that are important to the community, but don't have the ability to continue being watered to the extent they are now and what they're turned into.
I just see with all the infill that's going on, those pocket parks are becoming very, very useful for people who don't have a backyard themselves.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Thank you.
Acknowledged. Thank you. That brings us to the end of public question time, so we'll go on to item 8, the applications for leave of absence. Councillors, we have a leave of absence request from Councillor Kristovich for the 18th of March and a leave of absence for myself from today, being the 4th of March to the 18th of March. Are there any other applications for leave of absence? No. If not, can I have a mover and a second to accept those? Can I move Councillor Bard, seconded Councillor Perkoff? Show of hands. Thank you. That is unanimous. 9, confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover and a seconded for the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 18th of February? Move Councillor Lagan, seconded Councillor Kristovich. And show of hands to accept those. Councillor Perkoff. Thank you. That's unanimous. Announcements by the presiding member, I have nil. 11, unresolved business, I have nil. Now to item 12, recommendations from committee. Councillors, will start with the items from the Audit Committee. Are there any of those Audit Committee items from the 24th of February that need to be pulled out this evening? There's no items to be pulled out from Audit. Then I will go to you, Councillor Lagan, as Chair of the Committee. Would you like to move the reports on block?
Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the balance of reports and thank the officers again for the highly detailed documents that we went through at committee and their continuous excellent work.
Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Kristovich. And we'll go to the vote now. Just keep the government's team on their toes. That's it. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Please note to those viewers at home and those members still in the gallery that those Audit Committee items have been adopted en bloc. Councillors, we'll go to the items from the Community and Resource Committee held on the 25th of February. Governance received an alt-rec today for item 12.2 ES2, the variable speed zone. So that will be pulled out. Are there any items on there that need to be pulled out, Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, can I please pull out 12.2 TE2? I just have a question, and I will, under that question, also need to refer to a confidential document.
Sure. So that's item...
It's page 2.
Yep. When you say you need to refer to the document, does it need to go behind closed doors? Yes, okay, thank you. So we'll hold that one over to the end. Councillors, we'll go to item 12.2 ES2 and ask Councillor Perkoff, as Chair of that committee, if you'd like to move a recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move a recommendation for item 12.2 ES2, the committee recommendation on page 134.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lagan, I'll go to you. Are you just seconding that or? Yes. Okay, is there anyone opposed?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I've got an alternative recommendation that should be on screen. That I'd like to... If I'd like to, you want me to talk to it or?
No, I was just trying to work out how to do this. If it was, is it? So let's see the other one. Yeah. Thoughts. All right, so we'll deal with it as a foreshadowed motion. So Councillor Perkoff, your motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Just don't need to speak too much on it. There was quite a bit of discussion about this. I know there were some nuances that the ward councillors needed to sort out and have a chat with the community. So I'll just, move this as is.
Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Lagan.
Only comment would be I'd move this at committee, got support. I still am happy, but we have had a discussion in the interim and what the alternative foreshadowed looks to do is broaden our information.
Thank you. All right. Councillor Giudice, you foreshadowed a recommendation. Do you want to just speak against the current motion, tell us why you foreshadowed something different?
Yeah. Look, in principle, I don't mind the fact that we're reviewing the variable speed zone. However, there is, I suppose, some conjecture in the community as to the appropriate time for the speed zone to conclude. There's varying views on it, and 7 p.m. maybe some of the community's views, but there's also a strong opinion about continuing it as it is. So hence the reason why I'm seeking for consultation to inform that and then bring that back to council at an appropriate time.
Great. Councillor Migdale, you'd like to
Thanks,
speak?
Ms Mayor. I would actually like to speak on this as someone who is constantly running up and down Beaufort Street. It is, in my humble opinion, we have particular zones, reduced speed for particular reasons. Oftentimes it's for the safety of pedestrians who are walking around the area. Most foot traffic, the majority of foot traffic on Beaufort Street concludes by 7 p.m, certainly in Inglewood, not with exception of Monday night for the night markets. I think that that post 7 p.m. every day is very fair and reasonable for traffic to then go back to its regular 60 zone. Otherwise, it becomes ridiculous. Are we going to make all streets, is all of Beaufort Street going to become a 30 or 40 kilometre zone, and Walcott Street, and all of a sudden traffic doesn't move at all and buses are slowed right down? There's just no reason behind retaining. It's like for a school zone between 2:30 and 4 o'clock, there is a purpose to it. But if there is no purpose and minimal to no foot traffic, what purpose does it serve other than to stop people from getting from A to B in a reasonably safe fashion? If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. So I support, as is, what we supported at committee the other night. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other debate? If not, Councillor Kristovich.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I just want to ask a couple of quick questions. I know Councillor Judici was talking about consulting the community. In terms of the recommendation that was put up by the officers and the discussion that we had at committee, was there any discussions with community about keeping it till 10 p.m. or adjusting it?
Thank you. Mr Guillemot.
Through the chair, there was no previous discussions with the community, but subsequent to the Community and Resources Committee meeting, we sought feedback from Inglewood on Beaufort, who we understand is representative of both businesses and residents, and we received feedback from both the former chair and current chair, and they were strongly supportive of retaining the 40 kilometre per hour zone in place until 10 p.m, as is currently existing. They referenced increasing development along the road, and they also referenced the impact on pedestrians in terms of a collision with a pedestrian at 40 as opposed to a collision with a pedestrian at 60. So they've given us sort of strong indication that they would prefer to keep the time at 10 p.m. But as I said, that information was presented to us after last week's committee meeting.
Yeah. Secondly, in terms of signalised pedestrian crossings along that stretch, I believe that there are signalised pedestrian crossings along that stretch. Is that right?
There's one. Yes.
One. Yeah. That's what I thought. And the other thing too, in terms of the businesses that are open there and the activity that takes place, am I to assume that all of the businesses and activity there is going on till 10 p.m, pretty much 7 days a week?
No. I can answer that, no.
No, so yeah, I suppose I'm trying to understand why we're going to go to 10 if the businesses aren't open, if there's no activity there. I know the markets are on, and they do have traffic management situations going on there.
So let's be clear. What's happened? It's currently going to 10. The councillors had some community input that said it's going too long, along the lines of Deputy Mayor Migdale's debate. Then, following the Community and Resource Committee, the officers went to the Inglewood on Beaufort, who run the night markets on the Monday night, and they pleaded for it to stay till 10. The councillors have now foreshadowed an alternative recommendation to go out for broader consultation, because obviously there's some groups who want it, some who don't. but to basically ascertain exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I suppose that would be my point is I suppose ultimately in terms of my decision, in terms of how I'm going to vote, is that we haven't really consulted to see whether 10 p.m. is still a valid time or not, or whether 7 p.m. or some other time is appropriate. So I suppose before we make that change, we probably should consult with the community that's affected, the impact of the people who live around that area, to make sure that the right decision is being made. Because I'm not on the ground there, and I don't really know how it operates at the moment. And before we, I suppose, make any decisions, we probably do need to go out and talk to people before we know exactly what we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll go to you, Councillor Perkoff, to close debate.
Nothing to add.
So be aware, councillors, you're voting on the original committee recommendation. Moved Councillor Perkoff, seconded Councillor Lagan. If this is one, it stands that we support the modification. If it is lost, Councillor Giudice has a foreshadowed motion for it to go to consultation. Thank you. That motion is lost, so we will now put the foreshadowed motion from Councillor Giudice that council supports consultation. I'm assuming Councillor Lagan, you'd like to second that. Is that correct? Is there anyone opposed, or are you happy for us to... But are you happy just to vote on it, or you want to debate? No, you can oppose it and we'll go to debate. It's just in fairness. Okay, so we'll go to Councillor Giudice as mover of this motion.
Look, I think it's quite plain to see, and I think Councillor Kristovich got the matter correct. We haven't got a full community opinion on this. We have got some. And I think it's quite unfair for us to call it as we see it from anecdotal views of what is happening in Inglewood, particularly if you're not in that ward. So from my perspective, I think we need to go out to consultation. I think that's the appropriate mechanism. This was hard fought by our council, many years work when I was at Inglewood on Beaufort. We sought for it, but it had been sought for probably 6 years prior. I'd also note that Main Street and also Beaufort Street and Mount Lawley are still enjoying a timing up to 10 o'clock. There is pedestrian activity post 7 o'clock. In fact, the matter with the pedestrian actually occurred, unfortunately, I think it was a fatality. It was out at 10:30. So people are still crossing the streets at various hours of the day. And if we have a speed limit at 40 kilometres up to 10 o'clock, I think that's a wonderful outcome for our community. It's patently for people a thoroughfare at Inglewood at those hours, and I don't think it really puts them out of step with 25 seconds, I think it is, the 850 metre precinct that we've got this 40 kilometre speed. It's only 25 seconds of your time. 29, is it? 29 seconds of your time. I'll give it 30. It is not that much time to lose in a situation where there is still people walking around up to 10 o'clock. And there are not many businesses on some occasions open at 10 o'clock, but there are still a number of cafes and restaurants that still trade at that time, and general public and a number of others still do that. So I think it's entirely appropriate to still be at 10 o'clock, but I'm going to respect the consultation that we'll go through with the community, and hence the reason why I'd be supporting what I foreshadowed.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. You'll note I supported the original that lost. I've supported the alternative. Just a very quick background. Myself and former councillor Tyzack fought very hard for this 40k speed limit zone along with MLA Lisa Baker. It was brought to us at that time by the local businesses, and one of the issues the local businesses had was they made comment that they wanted the speed reduced for safety around school time, safety at the start of the day, and they wanted vehicles to be able to slow down enough to be able to see their businesses. Now, ironically, the people I've spoken to throughout my ward have told me they don't even use Beaufort Street anymore because the speed is so low, they can't use it, and they don't go to the shops. So the shops have ended up getting a result, which is people aren't seeing their shops. I'm all for the 40k speed limit. I'll be blunt. I could stand on Beaufort Street at 9 o'clock, 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night with a shotgun. I couldn't hit anyone. There's nobody there. Now, I'm all for safety. That's why I originally fought for this 40k limit. But we need to be rational about how long it goes for. Maybe in 10 years' time, Beaufort Street will be crawling with people. I don't think so. Can I just add one other thing? Although all the documentation is important, what's also important is to remember that when an elected member is elected to represent the community and the community come to you and say, hey, that was a great idea, but we're actually wanting to modify it now, then it would be remiss of me just to ignore what the community is asking for. In our documentation, to say that 9 people in total represents the community of 5,800 people in Inglewood, I'm sorry. That's, in my opinion, that's not an argument. I keep repeating, I'm all for safety. I'm disappointed that there was some commentary that Councillor Lagan is keen for people to be injured. I'm not. If I was, I wouldn't have started this. It's now 7 years ago, I think, or more, that we started this. After discussion, I'm quite prepared to say, okay, let's go out, let's have the discussion with a wider group of the community, not just 9 people on one interest group who I fully support. They do a fantastic job, but they pay a lot of money for traffic management for their event. Let's go out and find out why it is that people came to me and said, this is an issue for it to keep going until 10 o'clock at night. And maybe the people that I've spoken to have also got it wrong. This consultation will give us the answer.
Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Lagan, for your input, and I completely concur. I too, am going through the motions right now of teaching my daughter to drive. Boy, is that fun. And I'm consistently explaining to her that for every additional 5 kilometres per hour, her space to be able to stop changes. So we talk about stopping distance. I'm talking about it daily. And I completely understand when you have an activated area like Inglewood has become, like Beaufort has become, that we have to take into account a reduced speed limit for a particular period of time. Something else that we need to consider are people, residents. There's no imaginary dotted line, even though we may know where Stirling ends. There are many people who are commuting down Beaufort Street to get home. They may live in Bayswater or Bassendean or Morley or Naranda. Are they not entitled to be able to go through Inglewood to get home after finishing a long day's work at 9 o'clock in the evening when there's 2 pedestrians in that area of Inglewood? I just feel that it's bad manners to put a restriction of 40 on a street that has no pedestrian traffic and barely any traffic at all most nights of the week, aside from Monday night markets. So those people will not have a say in any consultation that we go out to. They will not be consulted with. That concerns me because it's an uneven perspective that we will get. I stand by the fact that 7 p.m. is fair and reasonable. Monday nights we have traffic management that fulfills the need of when there is pedestrian traffic. And if someone happens to be intoxicated or otherwise at 10:30 at night and walks in front of a car, which could happen on any street at any time, well, hey, unfortunately things like that do happen. I'm just saying. So I will not be voting with this evening. Thank you.
Come on, guys. Councillor Kristovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, when it comes to speed limits on roads, I think everybody has an interest in that. Every community member that lives in a suburb has, I suppose, a view. And I think it's important that when we change speed limits, we actually talk to people and we ask them what they think. Now, I understand that there are people that drive through, but at the end of the day, 29 seconds is not a long time to take out of your life to make sure that you're getting somewhere safe and people are safe in terms of pedestrian crossing. Now, the review here obviously needs to look at what people are thinking, but also what are the real what's the real environment that we're dealing with. So once we understand the environment, we understand the community, we're then able to make an informed decision. And I think all of our decisions should be informed. And I know sometimes people talk about and bring decisions to council and they talk about consulting the community. But in my experience, and I've done this from time to time, is when I say I've consulted the community, I might have spoken to one person. That one person comes up with an idea. That all of a sudden becomes a motion at council and it potentially gets through, but you haven't really spoken to anybody other than one person. So you need to make a judgment call around that also in some cases, whether it's a good idea or not. And I've done that with, for example, with the basketball court, but then obviously spoken to people further down the track about that. So I just try and balance all these things out in a rational way when I make a decision here. So I think in this case, it's important to consult, it's important to understand what we're doing, and it's important to make the changes that will meet everyone's needs.
Seriously, we were worried about 29 seconds to drive up Beaufort Street. I just lost 3 minutes of my life. Councillor Perkoff. Seriously, councillors, this is just to support consultation. We've already debated it. Councillor Perkoff.
And I thank my learned colleague for his attempt at a filibuster. Mayor Irwin, just a question through you to the officers and on the back of what a couple of the councillors have mentioned. Now, I'd just like to know from the officers, the scope of this community consultation. Is that going to be one of our standard ones? Well, what's it going to encompass? I know Deputy Mayor Migdal mentioned the out-of-towners passing through. We can't capture all of that.
A couple of meetings ago, Council supported the consultation policy,
Sure.
which details exactly what will happen in this case.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor.
And with that, I'll go to Councillor Giudice to close debate.
Nothing more to add, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. And with that, I'll put this to the vote. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. That is carried 9-2 with 4, Criado, Giudice, Hatton, Kristovich, Lagan, Papard, Perkoff, Proud and myself, and against Councillor Migdal and Olo. We'll now go to the balance of reports. Councillor Perkoff, noting that 12.2 TE2 has been pulled out to be behind closed doors later on.
We're moving that to the end of the agenda, are we, Mr Mayor?
Yes.
I'm more than happy to move the remaining balance of reports as written. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Proud has seconded that. So I'll put the balance of the Community and Resources Committee items to the vote. Thank you. And that is unanimous. Councillors, members of the gallery and those viewers at home, please note the Community and Resources Committee recommendations from the 25th of February have been adopted by exception resolutions. We'll proceed to item 13 on the council agenda. 13.1, the 2025 Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly, a City of Stirling motion. Councillor Lagan, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor has seconded that. Is there anyone opposed? No, I'll put that to the vote. Thank you. And that is unanimous. Is that? Yes. Yes. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And also just noting, thank you to the officers for preparing that motion for council when they attend the National General Assembly. Item 14, notice of motion for consideration. Now, 14.1, a little bit tricky. It came from 2 separate notice of motions from 2 councillors who are arguing over separate ends of the street. No, I'm just kidding. The report obviously details effectively that they can be put together and considered within the same report. I will ask for ease of tonight. Can I ask maybe senior councillor, one of the councillors, just to move recommendation 1 and 2, or do you want? Move 1, I'll move 2. Oh, God, jeez. Councillor Kristovich, would you like to move recommendation 1?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Bearing in mind the amount of work Councillor Hatton and myself have done in the area on these 2 separate issues, and we have approached them.
Enough patting each other on the back. Let's get a motion, eh?
No. Okay, well, I would like to move the notice of motion recommendation 1, that the City undertakes a review of traffic, pedestrian and road safety issues for Clement Drive, Karrinyup, from North Beach Road to Pascoe Street, and to the findings of the review to be presented to Council.
Thank you. And seconding that motion is Councillor Papard. Is anyone opposed? Good. Let's put that one to the vote.
All because of one roundabout.
Councillor, can we just have let's go show of hands. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll now go to the second recommendation. Councillor Hatton.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move recommendation 2 that the City undertakes a review of traffic, pedestrian and safety issues for the roundabout intersection of Clement Drive and Summerhays Road, Karrinyup, providing potential options and engineering solutions with approximate costings, including a more substantial roundabout that could improve vehicle flow and pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Councillor Perkov has seconded that. Is anyone opposed to that one? And I will put that one to the vote. Show of hands. Yep. If it's, I don't know if we're working. That's right. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We can surely just put the report together though, can't we? We can get to a stage we can join these two up. That's the plan. Good. You two can have a chat and sort this out. Yeah, great. We'll go to item 15, notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting. Do you have any notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting? No. 16 questions by members. I have nil. 17 new business of an urgent nature. I have nil. Now I will ask for a mover to go behind closed doors. Councillor Proud has moved to go behind closed doors. Councillor Papard has seconded. And can I have a show of hands to go behind closed doors? That is unanimous, councillors. To those viewers at home on the live stream, we bid you farewell. We have one item attended to deal with behind closed doors. As it is the last item, we will actually bid farewell to you now, and you won't turn back on, so don't hang around looking at a blank screen. See you next time.